welcome back to another short film Saturdays. I am so excited. I'm always excited, but I'm excited this week too, to introduce you to more amazing short films from around the world. My name is 𝗚𝗨𝗜𝗧. I'm the Community Outreach Manager at Soleil Space. So let me tell you a little bit about Soleil Space before we begin. We're a media company based in Brooklyn, New York, and our mission is to achieve a more equitable and representative global film and television landscape. Our focus is on the global diasporas of Asia, Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, and the Middle East, with goals of elevating these untold stories from these cultures, forming closer transcultural community bonds, and providing opportunities and resources for our creators to produce premium world-class content. We specialize in film, TV, editorial media, and aim to lift up underrepresented voices from these regions that are often not seen, authentically represented, or well understood in the global mainstream media. And we know, and you know, there's no better way to do that than with short films. Shorts are often the purest form of artistic expression and often, though not always, executed within the boundaries of smaller production budgets. Since launching Short Film Saturdays in late summer of 2021, we have featured 70 films from 57 filmmakers in 27 countries to date. Wow. And so we are so proud to be introducing our next filmmaker. But before I do that, obviously, you've noticed I have a co-host today. I am joined here with Serge from NollywoodWeek Paris, and Serge is going to tell you a little bit about NollywoodWeek Paris right now.
Thank you, 𝗚𝗨𝗜𝗧. Thank you. Guys, so Nollywood Week is a film festival that started back in 2013. Can you imagine? That's almost 10 years. Actually, next edition is going to be the 10th edition of the festival, and we are happy to have with us Goga Clay. With he's going to introduce himself in a very short time. Nollywood Week is about, and I mean, it started with the idea of representing films that basically were not represented. We wanted to give a voice to that amazing industry that was bursting at the beams, and that was just amazing with creativity and so much talent. And at that time, back in 2013, it was just literally almost impossible to watch those films unless you were in Nigeria. And so we wanted to create that bridge and allow the diaspora and just people who love good films in general to be able to access those films. And that's how Nollywood Week Paris started. And since then, it's been an amazing journey. We had to go online during the pandemic. That's actually the year when we showed one of Goga's film at the festival, and that's how we got acquainted to his work. But yeah, Nollywood Week's journey, it's been almost 10 years, like I said, and it's been about putting new talent forward, just creating that platform so that this talent could be more accessible and also connect between themselves, and just creating that bridge between Europe and what was going on in Nigeria. And since then, we've also branched out where it's like not just Nigerian films, but also films from the diaspora and films of other African countries. So we will be excited to bring you all of that live again in May of 2023 for the 10th edition, which will happen from May 11th to May 14th. But right now, we're excited to be with Short Film Saturdays with Soleil Space, Soleil Entertainment, and to bring you two amazing short films from Goga Clay.
Awesome, Serge. Thank you so much for that. So let me tell you about Goga Clay, our amazing filmmaker that we are introducing y'all to today. Goga Clay is a Nigerian-American filmmaker and former management consultant based in New York City. He spent his formative years in both Nigeria and France before moving to the US. A middle child, Goga has always been a free thinker with interests that vary wildly, from sports to adventure travel, cooking, classical music, and performing arts. In 2017, driven by a desire for a deeper understanding of self, Goga quit his job and went backpacking across 3 continents and 25 countries, where he learned about different cultures and documented his experiences. Highlights of his adventures include reaching the crater of an active volcano in Costa Rica, getting roughed up in a Rio favela, hiking in Machu Picchu, and getting unlawfully detained in Kenya. Wow. Upon return to the United States, Goga turned his back on the corporate world to follow his passion of writing and adventure traveling. Goga is a multilingual and uses his affinity for languages to develop characters and write dialogue in his stories. Wow. A lot of interesting stuff there. And so with that, I want you all to hear from the man himself, Goga Clay. Tell us about the films we're going to be watching today.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, 𝗚𝗧𝗧, and to the entire team at Solar Space for hosting us. And not just for hosting me, but for giving this platform to independent filmmakers. Thank you to Serge as well, Nadira, and the entire NollywoodWeek film space. It's been a 2-year relationship since I showed one of the films we'll be seeing today. I screened it at Nollywood Week, and it's been they've been very supportive over the years. So I'm very thankful to you both. Thank you for the great introduction. I'll just say, showing 2 of my films today is such an honor. The first film, Employee of the Month, is basically a story about love, loyalty, and ultimately sacrifice. But the true subject of the story is the inequitable and fleeting nature of human existence, even for those who play by the rules. So it's a bit heavy, but to set you guys off on your weekend on a lighter note, we'll be rounding up with the next film, which will be The List. And The List is essentially a teen comedy with an African twist. And my overall objective here was to show that a teenager in the West is not dissimilar from a teenager in non-Occidental countries. So I hope you enjoy both.
Amazing. We are super excited to watch both those films. So let me give everyone the rundown of what's happening. I know there's a lot of regulars in the audience, but in case anyone is new, we're going to now switch over and watch those 2 films. After the films are over, once the credits are rolling, don't go anywhere because we're going to come right back for a wonderful Q&A with Goga Clay. And then at the end of that Q&A, we are taking audience questions. So whatever questions are coming to mind while you're watching the films, hold on to those because we will get to your questions, I promise. So with that, this is YouTube. You know I have to say it. Like and subscribe. And with that, let's go ahead and watch those films. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. For those who are just joining us, this is Short Film Saturdays with Soleil Space. I am joined here with Serge from NollywoodWeek Paris as my co-host. And we just watched 2 amazing films by the filmmaker Goga Clay. First, we watched Employee of the Year, and then we got to watch The List. And I saw the comments. I know y'all were enjoying it. So now we get to dive in. We get to talk all about those films. And again, at the end, we are taking audience questions. So if you have any questions, be sure to submit them later on when I tell you to. If you submit them anytime before that, I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to see them. So submit them again at the end. But first, let's talk about Employee of the Year, the more serious of the 2. So first, Goga, my question for you is super simple. What inspired you to make Employee of the Year?
Employee of the Month.
Oh, why am I saying of the year? Yeah, my bad. Employee of the Month. There's no Employee of the Year.
You could be the Employee of the Year.
I could. I'm gunning for it.
What inspired me? So in the summer of 2020, I watched on TV, with horror, as many people did, the Black Lives Matter marches going on in the US. But at the same time, in Nigeria, there were also protests against police brutality with greater consequences, as you saw. And it all culminated on October the 20th, 2020, when peaceful protesters gathered in this place called the Lekki toll gate area. And someone, still we don't know who that person is, gave the order for soldiers to go quell the protest. And they went in there armed with live ammunition, and they shot. The only way to describe it is they shot with the intent to kill. But having said all that, I didn't want to touch this story. I didn't think I had credibility. I was in the States while my fellow citizens were getting killed. And I also thought, well, there's so many filmmakers in Nigeria, I'm sure someone's going to do this. So I left it alone. And I actually planned on another short film, and I started to write another short film. But one day I woke up and I don't know what happened. There was a visual in my head that I couldn't shake. And that visual is the film you see today. So I basically just wrote based off of memory, which is how I write. I see these things in my head and then I just regurgitate it. So I just did that, and that's how this film came to be.
Wow, I mean, that's amazing. And
Yeah, it's amazing.
maybe you can also tell us, like, because I mean, you were in the States, but I'm sure you were following that very closely, and you probably had some friends also that were in the streets. If you can take us through that process, what it felt like, and also another element that you had mentioned to me privately before this about even the title and why you kind of put the stories around an employee of the month. It's also about one of the comments that President Buhari said about the youth of Nigeria. So can you also guide us through what went through your head in terms of making this film?
Sure. It was incredibly frustrating to me to be in the States and watch it unfold. First of all, it started with pride. I was really proud of my countrymen and women going out there and sustaining it for as long as they did. And I thought, wow, for once, this is our Arab Spring, if you will, in a way. And it was also a response to what I saw as our Tiananmen Square. So that was really cool. So you watch it and you're like really proud and you're like really excited for what might happen. And then all of a sudden everything just comes down. You're texting friends that are there, and it was incredibly hard to watch. And I was on IG Live watching somebody live stream what was happening. And I couldn't believe that a government, I mean, you know about repressive governments doing this stuff, but I just didn't think it would happen to my generation. And it really broke my heart, because it was very clear that no matter how much we love our country doesn't love us back. And that was really, that was so unfortunate. And then with the title of the film, it's a little stupid. The president once, during an interview, blamed the high unemployment rate on the youth. And he said that the youth were lazy. His words were the lazy youth. Listen, Nigerians are many things. Lazy is not one of them. Nigerians are resilient, resourceful, hardworking people, and the youth are no different. So the title for me was kind of like an on-the-nose response to what some people might think.
Wow, very, very well said, Goga, everything, amazing. So as a lot of us know, our audience here on Short Film Saturdays is very international. People are tuning in from all over. And so I just kind of wanna rewind it a bit, take it back. If you could contextualize the political and social climate of this time period in Nigerian history, what are you don't have to go super in depth, but what are the SARS protests? What caused this to happen? Just give us a little bit of context for those who might be very far from Nigeria and didn't know exactly what was happening.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So SARS is a special unit in the police force. It's called the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, ostensibly set up to fight armed robbery, right? But I don't know when their mandate changed, and they essentially would go out daily and frustrate well-meaning people going about their business based on the way you looked, if you had tattoos, if you had dreadlocks on, if you had torn jeans. It was just like the dumbest thing. They would take money from you, jail you, and kill you. So the killings of SARS started years ago, and several times the government would say, oh, we've disbanded SARS, but then never actually disbanded SARS, right? And then even this last time they said, oh, we're going to disband them. And then they called them some other silly acronym, which was just like, oh, you're just changing the name. You're not actually disbanding this. So this is something that had been going on for a while. And the youth were sick of it. They were like, listen, we want to trust those who are tasked with actually protecting us. We don't want to be scared of them, right? And so they started going out on the streets and asking for the government to stop SARS. Now, end SARS is not just about ending the police unit. It has also morphed into ending corruption, ending bad governance, and just ending things as we've always done since 1960, right? We have to grow at some point as a country. And so people were just really frustrated and just like, so 𝗕𝗧𝗧 is kind of like a call to, I wouldn't say call to arms, but it's just a call to end things as you've always done them because they are not working. So I hope that answers your question, by the way.
Absolutely, that was great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that context. Now let's go back into the film per se, like the actual film, because it's a beautiful piece of art. And one of the things that stuck, one of the things that I'm taking away, and I mean, like, there's so many interesting things, so many things that we would like to get in depth with. But one of the very things that you did really well is the chemistry between the couple, between the two characters, and it's really it just feels so real, so authentic, and that's why at the end, we feel so sad as well with what happens, right? And so I would like to know, what can you guide us? Can you take us with your process and let us know how you work with actors in general to that kind of result?
Yeah, thanks. So what I wanted to do was humanize and memorialize the victims. And the only way you can do that is peeling back the layers and understanding who these people were or could have been. Very quickly, people like 𝗕𝗚𝗥𝗣𝗅, I had to do the research for this film. 𝗕𝗚𝗥𝗣𝗅 was not just a name, right? He was a person that moved to Lagos to try and get a job and lived with his older brother. I know what his dad did to his older brother. Same thing with Victor Sunday and all of them. So when I wrote this film, I didn't just want to write about the protests. The protests are a secondary character. I wanted us to understand that there are people, actually, there are lives behind these names and numbers that we see. So that's why I did it the way I did it. And then in terms of the chemistry, that's really down to the actors. I wrote it a certain way and we had our conversations about what I wanted from it. But, 𝗕𝗢𝗥𝗣𝗅, who's played by Tokpe Tedela, Sandra, who's played by 𝗕𝗢𝗥𝗟𝗗, are just fantastic actors. And they just owned it, right? And as a director, yes, you sit down with them and you tell them what you want to do, but at some point I just had to sit back and let them act, right? Because sometimes directing is just letting people do what they do best and see how they flow. And so really thanks to them. I hope they're watching, but they are fantastic actors.
Absolutely, I think everyone would agree. Yeah, they did an amazing job. And so I guess to get the big picture for Employee of the Month, what do you want audiences to take away having seen this film? And I guess if we could break it up between what you would like specifically Nigerian audiences, people who are even perhaps living in Lagos, so what you want them to take away, and then what do you want more foreign audiences, for audiences who are perhaps much further away, what do you want them to take away from it as well?
Yeah, for the Nigerian audience, they would know that we tend to hide things under the rug way too often. We forget, maybe we don't even have a history anymore. Everything from the Civil War, none of that is taught in school, none of that is in the curriculum. So I want us to never forget what happened on that day. Not to veer off topic, but again, we were gaslighted by the government. Till this day, they will tell you that it didn't happen, and they would mock you if you said that this happened. So I think it's important that we do not forget, if anything, for the lives of those we lost, right? Because they went out there fighting on our behalf. The least we could do is ensure that they didn't die in vain. And for the international audience, I wanted to peel back a layer of what happened. Like I said, this is our Tiananmen Square. I stand by it. But also I wanted to show a side of Nigeria that some might not know. I wanted to show how hardworking 𝗕𝗢𝗥𝗣𝗅 is. I wanted to show how loving the couple it was. I wanted to show some parts of Lagos, even though it was under terrible circumstances. I want them to know that There are people, we hear about the Nigerian prince asking for your money all the time, but we don't hear about the startup founder, that has like a unicorn in Africa. And then not just that founder, but the people that make the company tick, right? The people, the 𝗕𝗎🆪 of the world who strive for employee of the month, even if it doesn't come with money, but that's like a big deal because he probably thinks, oh, from there, I'm gonna get a promotion. So I just want them to see that side of us and see us as them.
Amazing. I think we have to go on to the next film now. We have to talk about the list, and we might probably come back from the audience's question. But just there's one last thing that we need to say about it. We need to talk about you and your role as Barnabas, because I mean you're in the film yourself. You can't shy away from that. So, like, yeah, tell us a bit, like, that cameo. That was interesting. Is that, I mean, do you have a background as an actor? Tell us a bit more about that.
No, I am not an actor. Very quickly, so we lost our lead actor 3 days before the film started. And with all that was going on, there was so much going on, and we need another life for this. But 𝗕𝗏𝗣 stepped up. I think it was a day on, we started shooting on Friday, and on Thursday night, my producer calls me and is like, oh, we have 𝗕𝗏𝗣 is going to do it. And at that point, I had decided I was going to play the lead role, just because I was like, listen, guys, we are making this film on Friday, come what may. But anyway, 𝗕𝗏𝗣 steps in. I'm so grateful for him to doing that. But then I was just like, okay, well, I kind of like geared myself up to act. And then we were still short on people to do it. So I was like, I'm going to play Barnabas because he's kind of like probably the easiest character to play. He's just an idiot. And so I regrettably put myself in there. And for that, I ask your forgiveness.
No, you did an amazing job. You did an amazing job. It was it was that comic relief, and it was good. It was, yeah. So, yeah. So on to the list now. And actually, for the list, I mean, my first question is still about the acting, because, when you look into cinema, TV, whatever, one of the hardest jobs is to work with kids, and you had a whole lot of kids in the list, and again, that authenticity, like, it just felt like they were not acting at all. So again, I would like for you to tell us a bit more about how you were able to make that happen.
I really can't take credit for that. Again, it's just down to the actors. I had the best ensemble character, cast of actors that one could ask for. They came together, we did some reads. Again, so my style is, not just repeating what you do, memorizing what you know and repeating it on screen. I want you to become that actor. So I try my best to guide the actors. I have them ask me questions. I challenge them. I have them challenge me. I never like an actor to just say, yes, I'll do it. But I'm like, okay, why would you do it? Why say yes? Because it gets it, for me anyway, it gets them into that character. And I actually call them by their character names while we're shooting. So not just for the lead, but the employee of the month. And it's really just like, listen, you are this person, right? So talk to me the way this person does. And our lead, Emeka, was just great. We would he and I would talk together a lot, because it was very difficult to do the acting with the voiceover. I didn't realize what I was putting him into, but it was when as I coached him to the process, I realized, wow, this is really difficult. But they all stepped up, and the chemistry between the guys was just unbelievable. That's all down to them, not me.
Very cool, very cool. So my question about the list, this seems like a story that may be informed by some life experiences. So how personal is this story to you? Is it based on any true events? And what were you like at this age where these are the stories that you're coming up with?
True events? Why would you ever think that? First and foremost, the list is it's an adaptation of a short story that I wrote. I published a collection of short stories. It's called Destiny Betrayed Us. Shameless plug. Check it. It's on Amazon. Please go get it. But yes, I wrote the list off of memory. I did not think who I was, or if I was even part of that crew, but I remember once while in school in Nigeria, some people who shall remain nameless skipped school one day, and when they were getting back, I hope my mom isn't on here, but when they were getting back, when they were getting back into school, I don't know how, but between the fence and them was the school prefect. And he called out their names the way you see it there. And it was like, what? How? So anyway, they get back in there and, you know, they try to investigate who the snitch was and try to get them to recant. As you can see, they were unsuccessful. So.
Okay, I notice you're using they instead of we. Interesting.
Hey, yeah, those students that don't exist.
I think it allows us to know what character in the group, you know. Probably, but yeah. I wanted to ask also about, like, you know, the list has an element of everything feels so choreographed, like you know, it's really interesting, almost like you had a choreographer on set with you to get them to move a certain way, and so again, like, how do you get to that result? And I know you're humble and you don't want to take credit for things, but you know, I'm sure somehow there's a bit of work or some thought that came into what we saw on the screen.
Yeah, I honestly, I did not think choreography whilst I was talking or working with the actors and doing the whole scene breakdown. For me, that was what I saw in my head. So I was going off of what I had in my head, trying to get as close to that as possible. But yeah, that was my first film. I really didn't know what I was doing, and that's one of the reasons why I wasn't even sure that I wanted us to screen it, because it's very hard for me to watch that film now. But you know, it's just working with the actors, and then going from scene to scene, and then just telling them what I saw, what my vision was, and then of course, again, they go in there and they actually do the work, and they did better than I could have ever expected.
Amazing. So then I have a question about both films together now. What was your biggest challenge in making each of these amazing short films?
Let's start with the list. That was my first. So I think just the challenge there was not knowing my left from my right. Leaning on a couple of friends, Michael, who was one of the teachers in the film, and one of my very good friends, Tokes, just coming in and just guiding me along the way. But that was like the best way, because I was just learning on the job. So I think that was difficult, but it was cool because my school, my alma mater, actually allowed us to shoot there. So shout out to King's College for allowing us to shoot there. So that was easy to shoot in a controlled environment. On the other side of it, Employee of the Month, so many things. We don't have enough time to go into the challenges, but we shot on film. We shot guerrilla style in the streets of Lagos, uncontrolled environments. So it was immensely difficult. We didn't have trailers or anything. My cars of the producers and actors were like wardrobe closets, production offices, makeup trailers. So, and that's where we're also, you know, when you shoot on film, you run out of film and then you have to go like change it. And so the changeovers were immensely difficult. You don't have the flexibility of cutting whenever, right? So you have to get it right. Most of the takes you saw were one take, two takes, and that's credit to the actors, right? We did some rehearsals, but again, with Lagos, nothing goes as scripted, right? Because you're not in a controlled environment. Even when you think you're in a controlled environment, when we're in the office, you think controlled environment, right? No, because somebody else, there's a generator going on outside, there's a fight going on outside, and people are yelling all sorts of things. So there's really no controlled environment. That was really difficult to go through. And then of course the subject matter, because we're acting these things out, but these people were there, right? So it's like going over the memory of what happened. But in a funny way, that's what I think brought out the best of us, because we were constantly reminded why we were doing it.
Wow. So now, hold on. Now I got an extra question. Why were you shooting on film? Because nowadays, obviously, digital has become the standard. Shooting on film isn't something that just happens. That's a choice. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you can blame my cinematographer, Mache. I hope he's here. Mache was such a partner in this from beginning to end. This film would not be possible without him. But when I started talking to him about the film and he agreed to do it, he was like, he called me later and he's like, Goga, that's how he calls me. He's like, Goga, I think we should do this on film. And I'm thinking, okay, that's great, but anybody got that kind of money, right? And then he's like, yeah, but I think it would be really good. We should ask Kodak. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, okay. So we asked Kodak, hey, Kodak, can you give us film? We don't have money, but we sent the script and this is what we're trying to do. And then, Kodak came back, he's like, yeah, we love it. But now we need like a camera for film, right? And he's like, well, let's talk to Ari and Cine1. So now we adopted this, scared money don't make money mantra, right? It's like, just ask because you never know. So we asked Ari. Ari is like, yeah, we love what you guys are doing here. Have the 416. And we just like took that. So that's why we shot on film. Someone just thought, why not us? Why not ask?
Wow.
That's amazing and unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I wanted to also ask you, because you are based in the US, you've been based outside of Nigeria for a long time now, but at the same time, your stories are very Nigerian. That has to be a choice, obviously, and I wanted to know if this is something you see, like for the rest of your career. Is that something you're committing to telling the Nigerian story, or at some point do you want to integrate the diaspora element as well, since you've been away from home for such a long time?
Yeah, people are really surprised that for people who know me, they're surprised that this is my focus. But when I got into film, I made a promise to myself, like I will tell authentic African stories that are relatable. And I want to educate folks about my culture and my people by way of entertainment. So, excuse me, that is kind of like my goal. I don't know that I would only do that. There are a bunch of stories that I've actually created concepts for that are more the diaspora, to your point, Serge. But I think even with diaspora stories, my focus will be on the immigrant. So it will be through the eyes of the immigrant, right? I think we have more than enough people in Hollywood and New York and Atlanta to tell the American stories. We have people in London to tell the UK stories. I want to tell our story wherever we are. I want to give our point of view. I think one thing that's missing is seeing things through the eyes of somebody else. And when you understand their perspective, I think you have a better understanding for who they are. And then I think that brings us together. Kind of cheesy, but yeah.
We love cheese. We love cheese on Short Film Saturday. Don't you worry. So I wanted to ask, we touched on this in your intro, 3 continents, 25 countries, and it sounds like a lot of interesting stories along the way. So how do you feel your travels inform your creativity and your artistic voice?
That's where everything was birthed. I decided to go into film because I was camping on a mountain in Peru one night and it just hit me and I never knew anything about film. So my story is just weird like that. But the characters I met along the way, affinity for languages, I think that shapes, because even when I write a Nigerian character, and I try to stay authentic, right? But I can't help but think of some goat herder that I met in Guatemala. And I'm like, I love where he did that. That was really funny. I think it worked for a Nigerian. And then I do it. And even people, when they read the character, they don't know that it's not Nigerian. And I'm like, gotcha. So I love incorporating some of my experiences. And I think, getting into the kind of mess that I got into humbled me in such a way that I don't try to see things from one perspective. I try to incorporate as many perspectives as I can. So I feel like that's what has shaped me as a filmmaker.
Very cool. So with that, I would like to open the floor to audience questions. Audience questions, go, go, go. Everyone submit your questions now. If you sent something earlier, no, you didn't. You have to send it now or I won't see it, y'all. Submit your audience questions. And while we're giving everyone the chance to type away, Goga, what is next for you? What projects should we be looking forward to? Give us the scoop.
So it's been, the feedback from Employee of the Month has been pretty good so far. I am currently in the stages of creating the feature length of it. So it would be a multi-character narrative. So 𝗕𝗙𝗆 and Sandra will have one story, and then you have, I'm not going to tell you what the other characters are, but there are 3 to 4 major players that we will be introduced to, and then it will all converge the way it did for our character in this case. So that's on the feature length side. I'm also creating an episodic. Well, I have created an episodic with a couple of friends, and I'm still writing out some of the episodes. And without getting into much, I'll just say it would peel back the layers of the technology, the start of technology space in Africa. In drama form.
Exciting, exciting stuff. And so now everyone who's watched Short Film Saturdays today is obviously a fan. So how can they keep up with you? Is it your website? Is it Instagram? Is it Twitter? Let us know your handles. Let everyone know exactly how they can keep up with you so that when all your new projects come out, they can be right there buying that theater ticket immediately.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Probably my Instagram is the best place, Goga the Creative, or you can just type Goga Clay. That's one way to follow me. And then you'll find out about Employee of the Month film as we go through the film festival circuit. You'll be the first to know. I don't really have a Twitter. I have a Twitter, but I don't really have a Twitter presence, but I'm also Goga Clay on Twitter. So yeah, check me out.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. And with that, let's dive into these audience questions. You guys can keep submitting questions while we are going through the ones that have already been submitted. So please do submit some questions, y'all. But first, we have a question from Erica. She says, both films had really great music. Goga, what's your process for making musical choices for your films?
Oh, I'm glad people noticed that, because I love film, and I love music, I should say. And I actually write with music on, and it's sometimes actually difficult. Like the music helps me develop my stories. So I'm very, very cognizant of the emotional strength of music and how well it ties into storytelling. And not to shade anyone, but I've watched many a film, and I just felt like the music had nothing to do with the film, and I never understood why. So I'm very, very intentional about how I apply music to my film, when to apply, how I apply it. And while we're talking about music, I just want to say shout out to 𝗕𝗙𝗆𝗏, who is an amazing musician, and he sang the rendition of the national anthem. I remember when I brought that up as an idea, he thought it was crazy. A lot of people thought it was crazy, but I knew he could do it, and he did an awesome job, and it really tugs that anyway for me, because that, especially the second stanza of our national anthem, to me feels like a broken promise from the leaders, right? You promised one thing and you're doing the exact opposite. So I wanted him to overlay that with what we went through.
Very nice, very nice. So our next question, we have one from 𝗕𝗓𝗏, and 𝗕𝗓𝗏 is asking, what is your favorite film? That's always a hard one.
Ooh, I don't have a favorite anything, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't have a favorite film. I can tell you that, what is a film that I really like that I just watched, Swan Song on Apple with Mahershala Ali. I'm assuming 𝗕𝗓𝗏 is asking about my favorite film in general, not my favorite film of my films.
No, yeah, yeah, I would assume. Yeah, your favorite film in general. But yeah, no, let's ask that too. What is your favorite of the films you've made?
honestly, so I can tell you now what I can bear to watch still is Employee of the Month. I don't know how I would feel in a couple of months, but I couldn't even watch it while you were showing it now because I watch and I want to correct mistakes that I see.
Yeah.
So I stopped watching, and I can't even watch the list anymore. I'm sorry. It's just...
No, I think that's super normal.
Yeah, I hope so.
Alrighty, so now we have a question from a Mayor 2010. I'm so sorry if that's not how I say your name. Wonderful films, Goga. Can you explain a bit about the process of getting clearance and permits to film in Nigeria? Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, I'm about to ask myself, like Burna Boy said, you don't cast. Didn't really get permit because it takes forever to get a permit. I can tell you what the process is. Write to the state government and ask. Funny story, when we were shooting one of the scenes on the road where he's in the car going to work, we had 𝗕𝗥𝗣𝗥𝗣𝗥𝗔𝗧𝗘, our cinematographer, sit on the hood or bonnet of the car, strap himself up, and we drove around Lagos like that. And while we were trying to, we parked just to change film, and then a car pulls up. It was a sedan, regular sedan car, and then out jumps about 6 soldiers. I don't know how they fit in that car, but they come and they're like, where's the permit? And then my producer says, oh yeah, we have a permit. And then they're like, okay, where's the permit? And then, excuse after excuse. And then when I feel like, oh God, they're about to arrest us, he pulls out a permit. And then you can see their faces like, oh wow, they have a permit. And I'm like, oh wow, we have a permit. But anyway.
And don't worry, Goga, we don't have any authorities online. I mean, not that we know of. Just like your mom is not connected, and neither is the police.
We confirm. Oh, that's good.
All right, let's take one more audience question, and then I will let you guys go. Privy Life is asking, do you plan to do more comedy, as you clearly do it so well?
Oh, thank you so much. Again, like I said, I feel like a lot of those things are so corny now, I can't watch them. So I swore off comedy because I'm like, you know what, this is not my forte. But I couldn't read, but I was watching the comments, and it was really amusing to me to see people like laugh and really comment on it. So maybe I will do more comedy now. Thank you, guys.
Oh, I love that. The power of short film Saturdays, guys. That is so wonderful. So with that, we cannot take any more audience questions. I'm so sorry, everyone. So some parting words. Our new website to follow all things Soleil Space and Short Film Saturdays is up. If you want to know what's happening every week, you can check out www.soleilspace.com. Easy to remember, right? Our next Short Film Saturday is not next week, the 22nd, but the week after, October 29th. Be sure to come and check what's happening then. Of course, this is YouTube. I gotta say it. Please like and subscribe. And with that, a huge, huge thank you to Goga Clay for being here today, for chatting with us about his amazing films. And Serge, a great thank you to you for being the best co-host ever, same as always.
Thank you, 𝗕𝗧𝗧. I mean, you're the best host, period. Wow. But I'd like to say a last word about Goga. He's probably one of the most underrated Nigerian filmmaker right now, and I just want to say that, because so going forward, I just hope Employee of the Month gets that that long form treatment that he deserves, and the rest of the project that you mentioned. I mean, all of that sounds amazing. So just good luck for the rest.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate this venue. Thank you. And thank you to all who joined us and who were like not only watched it, but were active in the comments. I really appreciate you guys. This is really helpful. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everybody. And we will see you next time. Bye.